Okay, g'day everybody. Welcome. Hi Liz, hi Lynn, fake son, how's it going? Hope I haven't missed anyone. Okay, you're listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles. I'm here with, I am NinjaCat 111, and I'm here with our very special guest, Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. I'll get straight into the introduction. Wish me luck because my glasses broke and my eyes, I haven't replaced them because I hate glasses. So I've been doing without, little experiment. And my eyes seem to be out of focus at the moment, so we'll see how we go. Because the problem wasn't reading, I'm short-sighted, meaning it gets blurrier the further away things are. So the words should not be blurry right now, and they are. So here we go. The signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time, who they are, and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were, and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Desert can discuss the ultimate in mind control, an ancient art, and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time, through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV and print media, while he can see, read and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely want to harness our wanted to harness our labour. What they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl of the Forbidden History series. YouTube channel. And I'd like to welcome Desert. G'day Desert, how's it going?
G'day Ninja. It's going. Our planet is still spinning. But of course, that would be except for those who are following the flat Earth theory. I don't know what it does in their world, but anyway, we're trying to make lemonade out of lemons. It's not a pretty picture, but it looks like the psychopaths have literally destroyed our world, and we're having to be prepared for the worst case scenarios. And it's a bit of a drag when the planet was literally a paradise, and they cut down all the forests around the world. We're losing oxygen, and methane is increasing in the air. Nothing good really to talk about other than the fact that we're really not from this planet. That's the only good news there is, because all of creation is suffering right now, and it's real sad.
Yeah, there's a lot going on the last few days, but we don't want to get into it today, do we? Does it? We'll leave that for the next program.
There's a lot to cover, but where do we leave off on the signs of the time listing? Whereas we were going through all the different topical issues in order.
There was. We were in that sentence with a lot of things. The ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology, and mythology.
Yeah.
So we were around. I think it was communications.
Yeah. We've done a lot on communications, but I think maybe it might be a good one to talk about mythology, because I stumbled on a big one yesterday that I didn't notice it, and I should have noticed it for a long time ago, based on my studies. But it's one of those things, you can't cover every base, you can't cover every word, and then finally Yeshua takes the blinder off, and you see something for the first time. But the mythology, we talked about the nature of this Aryan Brahmin priesthood that secretly runs the world through the Vatican and through banking and through figureheads like the Queen of England. Mythology is a word that is used improperly, like most of the words. Like they want us to talk about morals, but we don't want morals. We want ethics. And the same with mythology. Mythology does not mean something that is false. Mythology is the myth.
Sorry, there's some sort of interference. Can you hear that?
On the phone?
Yeah, it's like a squeaky sort of noise.
Right. Do you want to try reconnect?
Yeah, because it's getting worse.
All right, reconnect.
Yeah. All right, I'll call you back. And we are live. Okay, that was weird. All right, I'll just call Desert back. Yeah, Lynn, that was the interference. It was really weird. It was like a screechy beep.
Wait a minute.
How's it going, Desert? I was just talking to Lynn because she's saying I have a beeping. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I should have touched it.
Yeah, Love could hear it as well. It's gone. You're all clear now. So.
All right.
Yeah. So
As
mythology.
I was saying, the words, the Eshabor is the original term. They want us to use, or they use repetitively. We get it ingrained in our head. So they continue to repeat through the scholastics and the institutions and the media. They repeat things over and over, and so we then begin to repeat it just because it's the way we heard it, yet it's not the way it is. So the word morals, we don't want morals, we want ethics. Morals comes out of morals and dogma, even John Bunyan in his book Pilgrim's Progress, when he went down the wrong road, one of them was the road of morals, because it means you want more and you want it all. You know, that's what these world puppets want. You know, they want more, they want all. Give me a little more power, give me a bigger paycheck. And just more of this, more of that, more of everything. Yes, it's sort of like it's like a drug. You know, once you're on the drug, you know, you can't get off of it. Come on, get off the power trip? No way. And so, same with the word mythology, myth. We've come to use it in the slang of something that's a lie. Oh, it's a myth. No, a myth is true. A myth is your story. Look at the first word, my, my theos, my life, my structure of my being. The mythos is where you come from. It is the story. So I studied mythologies, and the Native American sand paintings that were presented by Joseph Campbell, fantastic presentation he did once, and the sand paintings of the Navajo, you know, told the story about it was an identical story of our Savior's story. It was identical, and about your twin, about going on the vision quest and the journey to find out who you really are, to come back with a new name. Scripture says over and over, Proverbs and Revelations, that a good name is to be chosen, a new name, because what it refers to, again, as we talked a few interviews ago about, we need to be second born.
Yeah.
We need to be born again, because the first one, the firstborn are not going. The firstborn are rejected because they are imperfect and they are incomplete and they are in the darkness. And so when the inheritance was due for the firstborn, they didn't get it. And the story is over and over. So just look at the themes of the Old Covenant for any new listener, you know, and you'll get the picture. So myth is not something that is false. That is a fallacy. A fallacy is the correct terminology. But of course they didn't want us to use that one because they love the phallus. They're phallus worshippers, and that's why they erect monuments to it, called, you know, the obelisk and the Washington Monument, all symbols of man's erections. But we're talking also then all of creation is their erection, because they're on a power trip, and everything. You see, I didn't make any of this stuff. You know, they make it all, and then they're the ones who own the corporate towers and the iPhones, and you know, and they're all getting big paychecks. You know, they get somebody like Elon Musk, because this is all now a type of a mythology in the way they do these grand schemes. You know, like you think this latecomer to our public view of Elon Musk is some kind of self-made man. You know, this guy obviously, just like the twin brothers of Google, or you know, the guy with Facebook, you know, what's his name?
No, I can't think of it, but I know who you mean.
Zuckerberg, you know, Zuckerberg means suckers on the mountain. The mountain of suckers, that's Zuckerberg. You know, mark the suckers on the mountain, while their address is, one hacker way. You know, give me a break. They're not having a party on us. And so this Musk, you know, because NASA has such a bad rap, they've got to get an alternative space program going just to make space continue to look real. You know what I'm saying? That they really do go up there and do stuff when the only thing they're engineering up there is a military warfare against mankind. And it's a grand deception. They never went to the moon, you know, and people still think they did.
Yeah.
And we were too stupid in the 1960s to figure it out, you know, because the show on television was so great with the news media supporting it all. You know, they have to have the news media supporting it. Of course, if they didn't, you know, the game would be over. But they got Hollywood, news media, and so they're phony erections. You see, that's what they are. But they make those monuments, those polished stone monuments, they look so good. It's so perfect. But yet, then when you look behind the scene of what it really represents, in this mythology, it's all a fallacy.
Desert.
That's all it is.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I just want to add something there. I looked into the aluminium on top of the Washington Monument. That's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah, and I saw significance there because of all the aluminium they put in the sky and how they use it with the frequencies and everything. It's put there as a lightning rod. You know how they do that on the top of buildings and things?
Sure.
To redirect lightning. But also, when it was made, they put the little aluminium pyramid on display in Tiffany's on 5th Avenue for a while before it got put on top of the memorial, because at the time aluminium was considered a very, very precious metal, and I just thought that was an interesting bit of trivia. So there you go. So anyway, yeah.
Well, it's symbolic of illumination. That's terminology.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So that's why it would be symbolic. But so in mythology, in other words, so I studied the Navajo sand paintings, and then I studied the other mythologies around the world. I studied world religions, and there is a lot of fallacies, for sure. But then there are traditions that were based on a sincerity, on a purity by intent. But if it were that way, if it originated that way, no doubt the priesthood eventually got around to slipping in under the carpet, and the camel putting his nose under the tent, and then finally they take over pure ideals. And so in other words, like the thing with Zoroaster, who's also known as Zarathustra, in the Persian time of Ahura Mazda representing the sun, and so apparently it was Zarathustra who had a vision, because all of the false traditions were had more than one deity. That was the thing that they there was a God for everything. And so that was the big lie, of course, because we know it is the play of the one. There is one, and as he says in either Ezekiel or Isaiah, and there is none beside him. There is no one beside him. It is he alone who is here with the Father of light, the Spirit, Yahweh. And so he does all things. All power has been given to him, and therefore he doesn't need 10 angels, 1,000 angels, or whatever people say when they say that. May you be surrounded by 10 angels, whatever that means, because they don't know the meaning of the words. Because all I need is him. He doesn't need anybody. He does it all. And this is such powerful. And I'm going to elaborate more on it in a little bit, because I got a few things to share that have come to the table since yesterday. And so in its mythologies, in other words, when I studied Greek, and I just want to add again, with Zarathustra and Ahura Mazda, because all ancient cultures recognize that that we fell from the sun, we came from the light.
Yeah.
And so, like in Mithraism, with Zarathustra, he recognized the one deity, and it was the one. And now, was this engineered by the one world order? I don't know that. I think Mithraism was pure. And there's the word myth, interestingly enough. The word myth, Mithraism, because I think the story goes like he was standing in a river, and then all of a sudden it flashed to him. He immediately realized, and maybe standing in that river was symbolic, of being in the river of life, but which is the river of life is light. It's the cosmic river that flows out and parted into four directions. That's the river. Everybody's looking on Earth for it, and they'll never get the picture that it is flowing light that goes into the four directions. Light is everywhere in our world, while there's a prevalence of darkness at the same time. So the idea that there was only one deity and that everything else was the grand illusion, and so this is what Mithraism was based on. It's really an archetype parallel to Christianity, and only certain customs were different. But following that there was one, and they recognized he is represented by the great logo, the sun, and so whenever they would pray to him, like if it were nighttime, they light candles because they perceived that you prayed through the fire. Well, guess what? We have to go through the fire. The fires of testing. They didn't pray to the fire. They were praying through the fire, just like when they would worship looking at the sun. They're not worshiping the sun. They're praying through the, like we might pray through the telephone if we prayed with each other. We're using a conduit to make a connection with each other, or through the sun, which is the great logo, which is the symbol. It is Elohim. It is the Ulavheim. But it is a mere symbol within nature, but yet it's represented as the throne of the Son of Yeshua, the throne where he rules, because it is the heartbeat. It is the center point, the way back home. All these aspects of it, and so that's why Cyrus, the king of Persia, the Malik of Persia, led pseudo-Israel or Utah, the remnants of Judah. That was about the only tribe that was left now, was Utah, to go back to Yahuwah Shalom and to Jerusalem and to rebuild the temple, because they recognized that they were recognizing the same one deity, the one who came from the light, the throne of the sun, and ruled all things. So that was what happened, and so I studied Greek mythology, and when I was able to interpret the metaphors, then I realized, it's talking about the sunrise, and then the sun traveling through the sky, and then the sunset, and I'm going to sneeze, so hang on.
Okay.
Thank you. And so
I was going to say bless you, but yeah.
No, you don't want to blast me, okay? I've been blasted enough in my life, right? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. You want to endow me, you can send me a check, okay? But otherwise, it's about the endowment and the enlightenment, right? Not the blasting. It's Baruch came to be born of the endowment and the enlightenment, with the mind's eye foreseeing in the night. And we can dissect the words anytime if you wanted to, because they are to the point, based on form, symbol and form. So as I was saying with Greek mythology, and I was just reading it this morning, in fact, on what was that topic? It's escaping me now at the moment, but it was giving an example of in the Greek, Delphi was their central hub, just like Jerusalem, Yahuwah Shalom is the central hub, just like Meitzar, falsely called Egypt, was a central hub that was regarded as the cradle of civilization, and the citadel of the sun, what we call Egypt today. But so there was two parallel civilizations. One was Yahuwah Shalom, the center of the earth, and then we have Meitzar, regarding itself as the center of the earth, and he had in Greece Delphi, which was regarded as the navel, another central point. And so you see, so this idea was multiplied, and that may be the case in India as well. No doubt India regards itself as the center, because it is the real occultic center that is running the world secretly with the unseen hand. So in the study of all these different traditions, we find so going back into the Greek, that I was amazed to find out what these mythological stories were stating were actually a retelling of the phenomena in nature. You know, it was expressing aspects of nature in a graphic, illusory form to preserve the storyline. You know, in other words, like, okay, what they call at the Strait of Gibraltar, right there where the Mediterranean Sea starts to flow out into the Atlantic Ocean, we have a 2-mile strait, and it's called the burying place of the gods. It's one side you have Spain, the other side you have Morocco, Africa, and the continent split apart. That's the entrance of the Great Flood right there. It was the Atlantic Ocean flooding in. That was the Great Flood. For 4,000 miles, it rushed over in a 40-day window all the way to the Levant and pushed Noah's Ark right up onto the land of Turkey and 100 miles inland before the water receded. And but nobody tells the story. Wonder why? Even the word itself, Mediterranean, means Mediterranean Sea means the sea in the middle of the land. There's mythology, and so they control all information. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So what do they call right there the Strait of Gibraltar? The strait 2 miles wide. You know, when you look at it on a map, it's like you got to get a magnifying glass. It's such a small little gap in between Africa and Europe that split apart during the cosmic event that occurred 5,300 years ago. That it was just enough so that the Atlantic Ocean could flood in and flood the entire valley because it was below sea level. That was the ace card to kill the giants. They made their civilization below sea level and never counted on the mountain range between Africa and Europe to break apart. But as we know, the Yahweh does things in great events, and all for His purpose and design. And the water flooded in, and also we had leopard giants. But what do they call that little slip of waterway going from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic? Do you know what they call it, Ninja?
Going from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's a strait. It's called the Strait, and it's like 2 miles wide and 2 miles long.
It's called the Strait?
It's a narrow door. Huh?
Is that what it's called, the Strait?
Well, that's one thing, but I'm talking about from mythology. Do you know what it's called from mythology?
From mythology.
Yeah. You probably haven't read Greek mythology, I assume, right?
Probably not, no. I can't remember every single thing that I've researched. I've looked at so many little things.
It's good to do it one time, to read some of it, because...
Okay, can I say Lynn's answer to you?
What's that?
Can I tell you what Lynn says?
Yeah, I bet you she knows it. Go ahead.
And Martha says hi, by the way.
Hello.
Okay, good. Lynn says Giant's Causeway.
No, that's not. If that's what she's calling it, then it could be another terminology I've not heard. But the one I'm looking for from Greek mythology is it was regarded as the bars of Hercules, the pillars of Hercules.
Wow. And no, I didn't know that.
Now you can get a picture of Hercules pushing Africa and Europe apart, right?
Yeah, wow.
Letting the waters flood in.
Yeah,
that was the Great Flood. That's why, because you can't miss it when, you can't miss getting the picture when you hear that terminology, the bars of Hercules. He pushed the continents apart, the waters flooded in, and then what we have underneath the Mediterranean Sea are 200 scattered civilizations, islands with cobblestone roads that flow right into the water, places that are illegal to go scuba diving right off of Turkey and Greece, because the civilizations are still there, preserved under the water, that were no longer usable because they were right near the shoreline, but still they were 25 feet below water, and it was the ocean. The flood was so great that it flowed across the Iberian Strait of Iberia, I think it's called, but it flowed into across the Iberian Strait into the Black Sea, and the Black Sea also became twice as big, and the civilizations on the shoreline of the Black Sea ended up underwater as well. So we have all the evidence, and yet they don't talk about it, you know. So that some of the giants survived on the islands of Corsica and Sicily and Malta, but of course ultimately they starve out because there's not enough food to sustain these people's lives, and if they're tyrants, then the little people aren't going to want to support them and help them out either.
Yeah.
And so they ultimately all died out because it was a new time. They had their day. It was before the flood, so Lynn was close to the idea of it. It was, in fact, what is also called is the burying place of the gods. And so who would be considered the gods more than the giants?
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
so it is relative to the story. The giants were I guess you get all kinds of giants in the story too. You get good giants, bad giants, big giants, little giants. They've all different
Little
types
giants.
of mythology, and
Sorry.
one ends up with one eye. The Cyclops.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were also called men of renown, and
Wow. Okay. Okay.
scriptures. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So certainly there could have been the hero giants, but then there were also the tyrannical giants, and they're the ones that gave giants a bad rap, and ultimately was the reasoning Yahweh destroys that world from that time. But if we go into like the Mahabharata, sometimes called the Mahabharata, then if the TA is silent, it can be either way. That's the symbols of the alphabet, the silent story. Then it said in the Mahabharata, as I did the transliteration of the draft from the 1800s, because they were close, but they didn't want to give the real thread of the story because they're keeping secrets, and so but I could read into it and see immediately what it was saying, and basically it said that they used the anti-gravity craft to fly the giants all around the world, and these giants could move giant blocks. Imagine get about 50 of them, 100 of them together. I guess they could move quite a bit of stone. We can't,
Yeah.
but they could be twice as big as us and 4 times bigger than us, sure. So they flew them around in the anti-gravity to get them where they needed them in their little space shuttles, and that's how these great civilizations came to be. Certainly they needed still the technology of cutting and how they made all these polygonal walls all around the world. Polygonal walls are all in virtually every civilization. So this is part of the story and legacy that we never hear about. And of course, they always want us to think, aliens came
Yeah.
and made all this stuff, but don't read the scriptures or the ancient mythologies, because the mythologies are telling us the stories. You see, they're preserved. These stories are preserved in these. But how come these people that want to promote aliens all the time don't ever read the Greek mythologies or don't ever read the scriptures and the lost writings that that talk all about it?
Yeah. It's
they gotta
fascinating.
think the fallen ones were some type of spirits with wings on their back.
Yeah.
And if it were true, a spirit can't mate with flesh and blood, and so even when we look at it logically, we know there's something flawed in the story, because it's the story of the Aryans, the Aryanism that and the Greeks were Aryans, and the Persians were Aryans. When I talked about Zarathustra and Ahura Mazda, they were Aryans. The Aryans were all the way in India, and this is the story that's not being told in the mythology. People it gets close to it, but yet it's not being spelled out. And they spell it out as alien, but you change the L to the R, and then you get the Aryan, because it is the story of the Aryan, and how he wanted to dominate the world from the beginning of his coming here as a fallen from where? Fallen from the light, falling from the sky, falling from the sun. They were known as the sky gods, the sun gods, the sons of fire. Okay, these were the terms that defined them from the Colbrin, what is also called the Colbrin Bible, of the scriptures of Joseph of Arimathea and the great uncle of Yeshua, or the other lost writings, you know. But we have to read all of them. We have to put them all on the table, because any one of them could be one missing component of the whole story, and then bingo, you get the picture about what's really going on here. Because all we hear is modern people telling a story, trying to tell a story, but they're retelling it incorrectly. And no doubt the Federation, the World Federation, is controlling the theme, because they don't want us to know the true story about who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are. You know.
Yeah.
And these things have to be known if we want to get back home, not to Kansas, but back to the light of the sun. And so there was a culture that dominated the world, and as the great archaeological journalists like Graham Hancock and these others that they all hang out together. They're like a little club of their own, and I can't even remember half their name now. But Schock is one of the geologists that proves a lot of the assertions that they're making. Schock, and then who wrote The Serpent in the Sky? I'm forgetting all their names, because it's been a while since I've watched any of their stuff. But these were guys that really were not part of modern day scholastics, because what it is that the universities are the gatekeepers. They're the archaeologists and all of these so-called professors and scientists. They're all the gatekeepers. They're the ones who are supposed to make sure that we never get the truth. That's the education system. The ed, meaning ed as an editor, means to remove. So whatever you were educated with means they only told you what they wanted you to know, and everything else that you should have wanted to know and would have been relevant to your truth, they kept secret from you. And that's why they spend all their time going around collecting the ancient archaeological sites of giants and other important information and destroying it. They don't care about it. They don't want it. They already know who they are. They already know the game, and we're the slaves on the plantation, and don't deserve to know who we are. And if we did, we might have a revolution. Certainly in thinking, maybe a bit more than that. Maybe people would wake up and not really go to work tomorrow, and let the whole system shut down, since they know it's all a fraud and a giant scheme of deception and poisoning of our planet and of our people, and they just have mass genocide on the table, written in stone, like in places like the George Guidestones, where and why do they have all these underground bases? Over 100 of them in the U.S. alone. It's the grand scheme. They've always done things on a grand scale, right? From the giant polygonal structures, the giant pyramids, the pyramid civilization around the world, all with common terminology, with common Aryanism, and common slavery, and common imagery, common deception, common sacrifice. They've got a lot in common. And that's basically why we should talk about Tutankhamun then, because he's got a lot in common with them too. But one woke up, and that was Akhenaten. He woke up, he knew the truth. Akhenaten woke up, and he had an elongated skull, he and his wife, Nefertiti, apparently. And but that showed that they were enlightened also. Apparently they had bigger brains. And so they shut down the priesthoods, just like Melchizedek did for over 100 years when they built the Gizar Pyramid, not the Giza Pyramid, but the Gizar Pyramid, commissioned by Yahweh and Melchizedek, who was Osham, who was also Yeshua incarnate, came into Meitzar, shut down all the priesthood temples prior to the flood, and built the Gizar Pyramid as a remnant of the time before the flood. But then, of course, all the Muslims came and tore off all the casing stones, so it looked like a piece of garbage, like a garbage dump, when it was the most beautiful monument on the planet that sparkled in the sky in the sunlight. But so nonetheless, Akhenaten also knew about the fraud of the priesthood and was sick of it, and how they ran the world with their many gods. And as one priest says, many gods, we can't get enough of them. Better there be many gods, and we have some employment, than the people know the truth that there's only one God, and we end up being annihilated, you know. And so Akhenaten knew this, and so he closed down the temples of the priests and said there's only one deity, one Elohim, and it was represented, of course, as the sun, the great logo, and then the priests had rebelled on him, and in the end, they destroy all the monuments that belong to Akhenaten. Yes, we got
I'm not even going to attempt.
Yeah. So anyway, the drama of our ancient past, what has occurred, is so fantastic and so deep and so voluminous. There are so many civilizations, and each one of them has a legacy and a story, but yet they're all connected, and yet they all, at one point, when they get isolated, develop on their own. Just like the Aryan, after the Aryan, it was easy for the Aryans to demonize the red-head spotted Celtic, who were the warfaring class from before the flood, who had the stain of blood, the children of Cain, the Canaanites, classically, also who became the Phoenicians, the merchant warfaring class with red hair, bright red hair, spots all over their bodies, and you can imagine a ship landing on your beach with a bunch of redheads with spots all over their body coming at you with swords and knives and battle axes. It'd be a pretty frightening sight. I think I'd be running the other way as quick as I could.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're stained in blood. I mean, come on, they're wanting blood. They're stained in blood. What more frightening of a picture can you get? And so that's where the word berserk, going berserk, comes from. They knew they were so tough looking that one guy, confronted by 10 other men with swords, he'd pull off all of his clothing, show all the spots all over his body, leprosy, and then he'd start swinging his battle axe, and then all those other 10 men start running the other way, because it was known, it was an open secret that the battle axe could take on multiple swords. It was more powerful than a sword. You can't. How are you going to fight with the battle axe with the sword? You can't do it. He's going to break cut your head off. In a heart. So the battle axe was a superior weapon, and it was also used to craft a ship. So it was a tool and a weapon, and therefore a multi-purpose. That's why it's in the fasciae. We see the battle axe in what's called the fasciae, and it's correctly called the fascia. The fascia is the fasciae, and it's a symbol of the sun, the battle axe. So if you can imagine somebody swinging the battle axe, it represents the sun. I don't want to get off base and go in many different directions, but I'm just trying to make connections for people to show them, you heard it here first, okay? I'm the only one who's ever defined the word fasciae from its origin. It is the symbol of the sun. The battle axe is surrounded by darkness, black ebony rods that are all tied together in a bundle, surrounding the symbol of the sun. Black rods surrounding what symbolizes light. The black occulting the light. They love, the symbolism, but they hate the light. And the black ebony rods surrounding the fasciae are each of the rods represent a political state that's occultic, that are all united together against the people of the world. Those are the puppets, the Merkels of Germany, the Trump of the U.S., whatever your guy down there is, I never knew.
Yeah, I can't keep track. They keep changing it as much as like the weather.
Yeah. And
Scott Morrison, I think, is the latest one. Anyway.
Okay. So the political states, and so the game is against mankind. The game is against us. That's why they want to force vaccinate us. They pass all these codes, rules, regulations, what they call laws, that how they're going to run our lives, which is the evidence that we're slaves. So, but to be set free is to know the truth. But they do things on a grand scale. On a scale, as we see, they control all the symbolism. They control all the governments. They've been running the show from the beginning of time. They control the universities. They control religion. And again, I'm talking about the Aryan culture. The others that are used by them are simply used and then spit out by them throughout time. And that's why on the back of the dollar bill, there's, when you look at that classic pyramid with the all-seeing eye, at the top of it, on the $1 bill, because there's more number ones than any other bill, so they get it on the most common bill. But really, when you look at it, you got to realize that there are two pyramids there. There's the lower pyramid, and then above it, there's the tiny one that has the eye in it, right?
Yeah.
There's that little one floating above.
I'm picturing it. Yeah, I've done a lot of study on that. So yeah, keep going.
So it's what it's telling us is there's two pyramids. And the lower pyramid are all the Freemasons and all the poops and the dupes and the stoops and the puppy dogs, the dogs that do their bidding, wearing their dog tags and their chevrons on their sleeves and their Scottish Rite kilts, all their little puppy dogs, you know. And unless you're in the 33rd degree, you're not in that upper pyramid. You're one of those building blocks in that lower pyramid. You were used by them to create their great, sensational, phony, matriarchal matrix of a civilization, but then in the end, you didn't transcend. You didn't get to go to collect your $200. You may have gone to jail, or you may have just been had your sloth writ, or maybe you were in the Twin Tower building that day when it came crashing down. The symbol of the columns of Yaqin and Boaz. You know, like they allowed a lot of those firemen, you know, to go in those buildings that day, knowing full well they were going to implode them with, you know, 15 megaton thermonuclear devices at the bottom under the basement, and that many of those men were Freemasons also, because, you know, just like the Jewish banking was willing to kill Jewish people in, you know, Nazi Germany and throughout all Europe, you know, and round them all up from all over Europe. They're willing to kill their own in order to, you know, meet the ends. As they say, the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
And so whatever it takes, we'll sacrifice our own, certainly. And and to talk about the sacrifice, because I'm leading up to really, you know, one major discovery I made yesterday in a word that is, you know, and I'm wondering how I missed it. I even used to interview a friend who wrote the book The Secret Terrorist, and certainly the Jesuits are the number one military, unannounced military organization in our world, who are on a mission, and mission is a military code word, and they set up missions all over the world, like we see them classically in California, Mission San Juan, Mission San Jose, Mission San Francisco, the missions, you know, and literally they're keeping a lock on the world, and they're not going to let anyone, you know, take control back. We've never had control. They have people like Gaddafi tried to take control and create a bank backed by gold in you know, in Africa, and of course we saw what they did to Gaddafi, and they took him down. They'll take anyone down if they think they're going to, you know, have their own little game going on. There's only one game, and it's the one world order game that's been going on from the beginning of the Aryan race and the priesthood that they established. And we're not talking about how they felt today, but I'm going to talk about how they do things in grand style, and they put their name right on it, and we never get the picture. So, you know, unless you keep reading things over and over, it's easy to forget. And I read like Greek mythology 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 40 years ago. You know, was when I was reading Greek mythology, and then you put the book down at one point because you read enough of it and you got the picture. And so I stay with the scriptures mostly and the lost writings that are relevant to our spiritual transcendence. But I had enough in me, you know, to remember, and then I forget. And so when I over the last several days, you know, interviews and such, we talked about the Titans and you know, and how they and I said they were represented. You know, they represented the Aryans in the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
In other words, you can hear the word, you know, the Titans. It sounds like they're the greatest men that could have lived, right? The Titans, and excuse me, and they were tight. Obviously, you know, that's what they are in this one world conspiracy. They're very tight, and but yet teat, you know, the word teat is in there, and teat is another word for tit, and then we could talk about like the Grand Tetons, the mountains. So we can hear it in the word tight, tip, tit. That it represents that which is in a point, the highest point, the tip, the tippy tip, and so who was at the tippy tip of civilization? But the Aryan that's been running it. That's what this arrogance of Nazi Germany represented. They had what they called the Teutonic Knights, and that's why we see a lot of these classic images of the heyday of Nazi Germany in the 1930s, when they're all marching down the streets and they're all riding horses, and they have all this regalia. They're wearing the Teutonic Knights armor, and they have their swords, and they have banners, and their shields. Right? It looks beautiful. It's classic, right? And they have their own cultural legacy that they're referring to here, and it's a culture that is only one version. That's only one version of all the Aryanism that proliferated our world in some side here. And whereas we could go into India then, and we can talk about the heroes of the Mahabharata, and they were all classically Aryan. And or if we see Shiva all painted, or is it Krishna? I get confused between these deities down there, but they're painted blue. With the blue skin, just like the Avatar in the movie Avatar.
Yeah.
Notice that they were bigger than everybody else. They had a long tail, which symbolized the legacy. The classic Aryan is blonde hair, blue-eyed, white skin. And these are the images that would have captured the more primitive of the races that were here prior to the Aryan coming to our Adam and Eve. And I'm not going to get into that story today. Some people, like I did all my life, thought that all the races came out of Adam and Eve, and it's just not true. And we have all the evidence for that now, that the races go back thousands of years, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands perhaps, and there's evidence of giants, with their footsteps in stone that, could be 1 million years old. And not to mention artifacts and tools and many things from the ancient past that create the enigmas, that prove out that there's more to the story. Our scriptures tell us a story, and it's not what they're telling us that we want to hear, but also what they don't tell us, because they're not telling us more than they do tell us. We have a limited story, and it's a story about, in the simple term of who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are, but it's a big story. And so the majority of the story is not written, and we can only piece it together through archaeology and through all that evidence of geology and what have you. But I'm talking about how great this power broker is that instituted slavery right from the beginning, and we find the story also in the Aquarian Gospel, in the and how they said it was like around chapter 24, I think, or chapter 26, where Yeshua said that there were 4 great races, the 4 great civilizations, and it was the white, which claimed the priesthood and said they need not work because they knew too much. Those were the lines that came through the great Naga. The first navigator, who was Adam, and the star navigator, who knew all things because he was with Yeshua when he made all things, and he named all things. And if he named all things, he must have known something, and he did, because that's where we get the Aryan watchers that fell, called the Vekoresh. The Vekoresh are the is where we see in the Vatican now the word vicar, but the word watcher is a corruption. But we get the picture that they observed everything, they knew how everything operated, and so when they fall, then they use the red race, and Yeshua said that the next great race was the red race, and that they were the puppet kings and the warfaring class that protected the Aryan priesthood, and then the yellow people, who apparently were already here, smaller, and we call them the Oriental. They were the growers, and we can look at in the China today, in Japan, and all throughout the East, how they can make these fantastic gardens on the side of a mountain and grow rice in abundance, or create a bonsai tree by knowing secrets of horticulture. They could chop a tree down and keep cutting on it till it becomes a miniature tree. There's the things that they could do. So we can look at the evidence of the story that there's got to be truth to it, because we can look at them today and know that they're the masters of irrigation and harvesting of produce. At the bottom of the echelon, the ones that got the bad rap, unfortunately, because we're all the same. The skin is an illusion, but the blacks, then the people of dark skin, which is really brown. We're all really different shades of brown in my book, but the blacks then became the scapegoat, because they were the ones who were the most enslaved, even though they really enslaved everybody to one degree or another. And so they created the caste system, and that's what we see classically still today in India. And it was created by the Aryan and the Brahmin priesthood, and they control it all. It's Hinduism today, it's Buddhism today, because the original story of Buddha was covered over. Buddha was setting people free from the illusions of the priesthood, just like a Yeshua, just like the classic Jesus story. But yet then it gets destroyed and taken over, and they create idols to Buddha. He never said to make an idol of himself, or any of that. And he was one of the warfaring class. That's why the Buddha we see with the curly hair, because he was a warfaring Celtic, meaning he was what we would call today classically an Irishman, and because they were all over the East. A Persian means fire sons. They had the red hair there. That's why in the movie Nebuchadnezzar, called Jeremiah, when Utah is banished to Babylon, and out from the front gate of the Babylonian citadel comes Nebuchadnezzar to put out the eyes of Zedekiah, the king of Utah, and who would ever think that Nebuchadnezzar would have a bright red hair and a red beard, classic Irishman, because they know in Hollywood, they know, and they tell it like it is, and you got to be able to read the symbols. But the Aryans are on top. Then they've always been on top, and anybody they use, they just use, and then they're done with them. Freemasons. They let African people come into Freemasons, and most of them don't even know it was the Freemasons who created the Ku Klux Klan, and tortured and hung and burned how many people in America during the early 1900s or the late 1800s, and not to mention in Africa, southern Africa as well. So nobody does any homework or research, and they're easily titillated by the sensation of being in a little secret society. Man, that is pretty cool. You mean you got a secret handshake and you get little perks and privileges? Wow, let me in, babe.
Yeah.
And they're just dupes and the stoops and the poops. People are easily because they are slaves. That's why, because they are slaves.
You're right. Do you want a voice break? Because I have some things.
Well, okay, yeah. Why don't we do a cliffhanger? I'm going down. I know I'm going down a lot of trails here.
Oh, I was just talking like 20 seconds of me talking. That's all.
Let's finish this, okay? Because then I have part two, and I was trying to, do one thing and get to the bottom. I don't want a cliffhanger here. I was trying to tell the story, and basically, okay. So where was I going here?
We're talking about the Irish.
Yeah.
Red hair.
Well, I was trying to just bring it full circle how they control all the civilizations, and they do it with perks and privileges and secret handshakes. And, in other words, free cultures cannot survive when you have secret societies. It's an impossibility. You can't fight against infiltration and treason within your world. Because it's the serpent. How do you keep a spider out of your house? How do you keep the insects out of your house? You can't do it, right? They keep crawling in.
Yeah, they keep coming back. Yep.
Of course. And so that's nature. That's the nature of their game. And so the point is that they do things on such a grand scale that they they build the civilizations, they build them up, and they take them down
Yeah.
when they're ready. They do it at our expense because they use our labor to do it. That's our slavery. We work for them, whether we know it or whether we like it or not. Except for a few of us who really know the game, and then we get away from it. But still, how do you get rid of using Federal Reserve notes? How do you get rid of using their funny money?
Yeah.
You can't. Virtually you can't. If you're in society, you're in the matrix. Unless you want to go out and live in the mountains somewhere with an axe and a sharpening stone and with bow and arrows, you're going to be connected to that matrix somehow. You're going to be tied in some way.
We're using the internet right now.
You've got to use their petrochemical, right?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, but in order for them to keep control on the earth, they constantly have to do a mopping up operation and take people down. Because people always end up at the wrong place or the right place, depending upon how you look at it.
Yeah.
Or but it's the wrong place if you're not supposed to know. And so people get too close to the center of the hub, and they get near the fire, the very central fire that is running the world. And so these people are at the, they see something they're not supposed to see. So they constantly, or they're living in an area where they don't want to be living because they're really next to the big operation. And so these people are constantly being taken down. That's why they use the Islam, to destroy the true Christianity in the East. And now they're using them to destroy it in the West. Because there is free thinking that goes on with, what we call Christianity, especially in the original. Not the flashy, flash in the pan, Presto Magico TV version that we see today, in the West, because that's the false traditions, in our plain view. 600 different versions of Christianity. Which one do you want? What flavor? Baskin Robbins, But so they use cultures to destroy one culture to destroy another culture, and they do it in all different ways. But the Jesuits, of course, set off the atomic bombs on the ground while the flash bombs came down over Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Behind it are the Jesuits. They are the secret military operation going on, sort of like America's CIA, but just a bigger version, more professional than even the CIA. And they wear robes and priests, and they touch you to think they love you, and they love you to death, But ultimately, when they wanted to get their final lock in on America, then they had to get rid of all of the wealthy in America that would be in opposition to a centralized bank. And so in order to do that, what are you going to do? Just go, they didn't want to, just go assassinate everybody. That wouldn't look very good, because obviously somebody would have figured something out. You'd have to kill the whole family anyway, and if you did, there are different ways of doing things, but they do things in grand style. And so what they would have done then, and what they did, actually they wrote their blueprint first, and they wrote a book called, and I can't remember the book if it's correct, but I think they called it The Titan. I think the book was called The Titan, and it was written about in the late 1800s, and like around in the 1890s, let's say. And this isn't the first time they wrote a book that gave their blueprint. Okay, they did it with Oklahoma City also. The governor's brother, of all people, of Oklahoma, wrote the book, and there was a guy named McVeigh as well. Even the guy named McVeigh was in the book, And then Tim McVeigh is the patsy, secret military operative who supposedly drove a van in front of the Merrill building, but never did. There was never an explosion in front of the building; it was inside. But the grand illusion and the media prop that keeps the ball going, tells all the lies and gives us all the false images. So anyway, so they decided in order to get rid of all the wealthy of America that would be in opposition to a centralized bank, the power brokers, the Vanderlips, whoever, all the names I can't even remember, the Astor family, those types of that made millions. They were the billionaires of that day, and they or like the Elon Musk, but he was a puppet, just a prop. Give me a break. So anyway, they decide they're going to create a ship, and they're going to call it the Unsinkable Ship, after they just wrote a book about a boat called the Titan in in the late 1800s, and the ship hit an iceberg in the book, and and it took down all the people in the boat, and so then they literally build a ship in England, and they call it the Titanic, and
It's
it
Titan
makes,
again.
What's that?
Titan.
What?
Titanic. Titan again. The word.
Thank you very much. You're on top of things, and just hold your seats, okay? And you're good, okay? That's the ninja in me. That's beautiful, okay? Stand by for the broadcast. I will finish and cap it off with the great expose right here, okay? Because what they did ultimately with the Jesuits in the last stop, the high Jesuit, his name was I can't remember his name now. The captain of the ship was a Jesuit, and so he at the last port in Ireland before they're going to cross the Atlantic, then the head Jesuit of England gets on the ship. He takes a picture of every wealthy on the ship to make sure they had a record and proof that these men were all on the ship, and then he asked his his key Jesuit connection to should he take the ship across the Atlantic, and he says, get off of that ship now. And so he gets off the ship,
Wow.
and then it heads across the Atlantic, full steam ahead, and 8 warnings to slow down, icebergs ahead. They never slowed down, and instead of hitting an iceberg with the tip of your ship, if you were going to hit an iceberg, you want to hit it with the front, they strafed the iceberg alongside, so it cuts every separate compartment. Because if you got a leak, you can close the compartments, but they strafed the side of the ship, so there's too many compartments that have been compromised, and the whole ship is flooding now, and it's all going to go down. And so and the captain was following orders because he got his career and his perks by being a Jesuit adjutant, and if he didn't follow orders, then he would have been tortured to death. And of course, when he took his Jesuit oath, it said that he sold his mind and his soul and his free will to the Jesuit cause and the One World Order. And so that's how they do things. It's mind control in its own day. And yes, you've got it right. That the name of the ship is the Titanic, and it is the Titans, and they are, in the classic sense, the Teutonic Knights of the Aryan race. That they put their name on the ship. The people who took the ship down put their name on the ship, and I was amazed that I hadn't noticed it all these years.
Wow.
Right in my face.
Wow.
Titanic,
I'm sorry I blew it. I'm sorry I blew it for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't. You showed that you're paying attention, and that's great.
Oh, thank you.
You see, you're paying attention, and I know that. That's why you're doing the interview, because you give a damn. And that's a little different about you than most of these other so-called radio personalities that are out there, and I can't even get an interview. And I've got some of the most important connections about how this world is operating. But they want the angels with wings on their back, or they want the alien story.
Yeah.
They want the sensational lie instead of the meat and potatoes of really how the game is played.
I want the truth. Yeah.
So there you go. You see, they put their name on the ship, the Aryans, the Titans, those who are the most powerful, put their label on the ship. I always thought it was somehow Titanic was sort of like, a symbol of darkness, like satanic. We use the word satanic.
I just thought it was a fancy name.
But I didn't. I forgot my mythology, and then when I started doing a few broadcasts with you, I was referring to the Titans as I was reading my book on mythologies.
Yeah.
And scriptures and myths, and then I was coming to my mind, the front of my mind again, and then when I was referring to the Teutonic Knights, then all of a sudden, bingo, I made the connection, and yeah, the Titanic are the Teutonic, and the word, and Yah Love, has helped me make some connections as well with her background in the Anglo-Germanic, that is an unwritten Germanic that she knows, and then of course the modern Deutsch that she speaks in Deutsch is Deutsch, and the Deutsch is the torch
Wow.
that we find on the goddess of Columbia. She's holding in her hand the light of Aryanism is the torch that's in the hand of the Columbia, you see.
So, Statue of Liberty, and that's why they use the torch in the Olympics, and...
Yes.
Yeah?
They're carrying the torch of Aryanism, the Titans, the most powerful secret society on the planet, originally the priesthood, but still running the show through corporations and secret societies, and they use all other cultures. They give the other cultures a bit of freedom and a little power trip, like the military generals, they'll be African or, other Oriental, races, and they'll make them all feel like brotherhood, but in the end, it's Aryanism. In the end, you might be in the elevator in the Twin Towers, going down for lunch, and so they can pull. There's no great expense. There's nothing they can't build. So no different than they build the Titanic, this giant luxury liner with all the lavish, beautiful decorations and the pianos and the chandeliers and the biggest propellers, everything they can create, and then they can sink it to the bottom in a heartbeat with the entire blueprint to be that way. And it's exactly what they did with the Twin Towers. They prior to build, they planned on building it and taking it down 50 years before they ever put the shovel into the ground for the first time. It was planned, and probably is in the 1800s. It was probably, the story was written as far back as then. It may be a replay of another version of another story that was identical to this one, just another group of people, another type of a building, another type of a structure, maybe from before the flood, actually. So yeah, they kill their own, and that's like the captain of the Titanic. He's told, you're taking the ship down, by the way. Here's your final marching orders. Good son. Good slave. You've done your job. Now you know what you got to do. And he never thought he'd have to do something like that. Never. Even receiving, the trade-off is, like, we're going to contract, and by the way, Ninja, I'm going to give you a car. I'm going to give you a giant new house and a mansion. I'm going to give you a bank account. And you can go do anything you want to do. One day I'm gonna need a favor from you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you say, sure, Desert. Sure, I'll be glad to do you a favor one day. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then one day I come back and I say, Ninja, guess what? I need you to do something for me, and it's big, okay? And guess what? If you don't go do it for me, you know what's gonna happen to you, don't you?
It's like the story of the Crossroads demon, where you get everything, you can have everything you want in life, and you end up paying for it in the end.
Yeah. But the only difference was I got you to play the game because I got you also to agree to a contract and a blood oath and a secret ritual that made you a part of me, and I now own your soul.
Yeah.
See?
Wow.
Not just financially, but literally, mentally. And so you've been in it. You've been involved in the sacrifices and in the game, all along, one way or another, because you follow orders. You've done this deed, you've done that deed, and the more you did it, you didn't want to do it, but you did it anyway because you knew you had to. First it was maybe pushing someone off a bridge, and then it came down to blowing up a bus, and then the next thing it was taking down a building. It just went from one extreme to the next.
Yeah.
And the people that are right behind the orchestration are wearing tin badges, and they're claiming to be here to serve and protect us, and they're the ones going to take it down for us. The Keystone, also known as the Keystone Cops, they're the linchpin in this deal, because if the police and the military and the sheriffs would throw away their tin badges for some real gold and honor, and throw away their sheepskins and their loincloth of Freemasonry, we could turn the world around. But they're never going to throw away their sheepskin and their loincloth and their secret handshake and their Masonic oath and their oaths of Kol Nidre. They won't do it because they can't do it. They can't. They don't have a conscience.
Right.
Forgive me for getting a little emotional there.
That's okay, Desert. You can get as emotional as you like on this channel.
Right. Well, let's go to a break. We're gonna have to do part 2, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So glad to be here. Want to welcome all of our listeners, and I understand we have some friends on from my channel as well today, and so I just want to welcome everybody out there.
Okay, so we'll go to a music break. Before we do that, I'm just having a look through the chat. There was something interesting in here. I'm just scrolling back up, sorry. Oh, about the elephant. When we're talking about Avatar, the elephant, Lynn says the elephant god is blue also, and I noticed on the Google logo tonight there's elephants with balloons. I think it's celebrating like Happy New Year, but I can't remember if they're blue. They were either blue or purple. Just thought that was interesting. Yeah, with the blue. You still there, Desert?
I was on my break.
Oh, sorry. I was talking to you.
You were talking to me? Okay, yeah, that was the Ganesha. You see, we just talked about the elephant being symbolic of the sun, and in the ancient Sanskrit, and what I pieced together and thought was strictly the Indo-Germanic, and found out it was in Sanskrit, is the Ganesha, and that is the word Genesis. So right here in the word Genesis, starting from showing that Hinduism took full control of our scriptures, just like I said, India or Adame backwards is India. It's an anagram, and you can see the word India. And so that's the evidence. Of course, the elephant does represent the Hinduism because we're not into idols and images, and therefore, but the culture is preserving the story. They're carrying the baby of the symbolism within this story. So the elephant represents the sun, just like the bull, just like the lion, just like the ram, just like the owl, just like the eagle. All of these represent the sun, different metaphors for different pictures. That's all. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Desert. I'll let you rest your voice now, and we'll go to some music. Okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we will be back. You're listening to NinjaCat 111, speaking with Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series, and you are at the Forbidden History Chronicles, and we'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back. You're listening to NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl. You're on the Forbidden History Chronicles with Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. If you're new to this program, Desert is on this channel with me as much as possible at the moment until he can organise a computer. But he's been broadcasting since June 21st this year, and I suggest that you go back and listen. They're amazing, and it will give you a better idea of what we're talking about on the Forbidden History Chronicles. He goes right into the code and the words, and right back to the beginning of the deception. It's all there, and it's fascinating and awesome. Okay, contact details for Desert. Everything is in the description on every one of these live streams. My email is there as well. You can contact me to get hold of literature. Desert has available the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, and a sample of the original Gospel with a more up-to-date version of the dictionary attached on the back. And also the Book of Wisdom. So you can get those three through me at the moment, just while Desert has no computer. Sorry, it's it's 3 a.m. here. I'm having a senior moment. For donations towards the translation project, Desert accepts any size donation. It's towards the project and doing what we do here, sharing the information. You can contact Desert at the realpublicradio.net. That is with W's at the front. www.therealpublicradio.net, and you will see a donate button there. You automatically get the PDFs. If you want copies of the PDFs and you don't have the money, we just contact us and we will get them to you anyway. You can also call or text Desert on 608-566-7295. I think Lynn has written that in the chat. Thank you, Lynn. Again, that's 608-566-7295. If you're international, just put a +1 at the front. And I think that's all. Desert, are we good to go?
Okay, and of course, anybody that supports the cause is supporting the Transliteration Project, the original thought Transliteration Project, going back, bypassing the Hebrew and the Greek, going through them. In other words, not leaving out that information and knowledge that it derives, but what that which is first is superior, and that which is first is most pure and therefore original. And that which is first is superior and first in time, and obviously the original is superior. So it's what was breathed into Adam from the beginning, and the symbols carry the message, and the symbols are with us in our modern time, falsely called the Phoenician alphabet, but it is the Aramaic alphabet, and these symbols carry a message, and from ancient time, and it is they are seeds of light. One of the expressions would be seeds of light. They are light images, and the first one being the letter A. And so thank you for giving out all that information, Ninja. You're doing a great job.
No worries, Desert.
Having forbidden history from down under. I've always loved Australia. I've always had friends at different times from Australia. And my friend Brian Hedges, I forget where Brian was from now, but when I used to do marketing, I was advertising and such, and I had a friend down there. And and then did broadcasting with Ian Murphy from the Aussie Freedom Scouts when I became a political activist. And so it's a big world, but it's a small world at the same time now with our technology, and it's so great to have friends right now listening in from Canada and Ireland and Europe and from wherever South America. We got a small world now with technology, but of course all we have to do is flip one switch, and then we're back into the Stone Ages again, and we'll never hear from each other again. They've got full control over that, so we know that we have to take advantage of the time that we have. Even YouTube, apparently just wants entertainment. They don't really want anything of substance. They're the gatekeepers again. They've always got to control the information because it reveals who they are, and they don't want us. They don't care if a few of us fall through the cracks and know who they are. Then, that's okay. But they can't afford to have the mass of people know that they're being lied to and smashed. That their lives were destroyed the day they were born, and they could have had a real life.
Sorry, the cat's just jumped on the keyboard.
Uh-oh. You got
Gimpy,
twin ninjas going on.
They're both in here at the moment. Oh, Gimpy, get off the computer. Just stand by. Stand by. He's going to knock the phone over and everything. Hang on. Gimpy, get down. Come on.
Is my mic set up?
Yeah, it's all good. You fell over for a second, but I managed to rescue you.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Ninja's looking to have a go now.
All right. So.
All right. Yeah, keep going.
So I've got a road to go down, and I'm going to probably extend the program a little bit because I wanted to cap it off with our spiritual nature, and of course the Asian words, the words that are connected to it. Because we talk about all this sensational stuff about our ancient past and how the world is being run, but it can't save us. That knowledge cannot save us. It can only help us to be separate from the beast's aura, his nature, and to appreciate how he operates. That is relative, but we really need to know, the thread of going home and how to go home and to follow that trail. And it's not easy because the truth is not a part of any lie. And if one is following a bucket of lies, then tell me how they're going to transcend into eternity with the one, and with their eyes closed. In other words, being in darkness means your eyes are closed, and we have to come into the pure light of truth. And so I've got a little slice out of the Indo-Germanic dictionary. I got a couple dictionaries just of late, and all they're doing is confirming everything I've been seeing, and have been also saying myself. I'm amazed to hear what my analysis has been about the Indo-Germanic based on independent study and following the light of Yeshua. Then they just basically confirm the elements of what I've been saying on many of my broadcasts now, as you've been following. So this quote, this one paragraph, it's not a quote, it's a paragraph. It says, it should be noted that the original Indo-European words were fashioned to denote material objects or specific events that impinge directly upon the senses. But most correctly in this statement, forget the events. That would be later on. But from the beginning, I should have capped it off right there. It should be noted that the original Indo-European words were fashioned to denote material objects. Everything that they used for expression had a picture associated with it. Okay. That's why in the garden it said that there were two trees and that there was a serpent and that and there was fruit, and the tree had fruit on it, and all of these solid imagery, because the solid imagery carries the abstract thought. The abstract thought is, okay, what does it mean? What does the tree symbolize? What does the fruit symbolize? What does the serpent symbolize? Because we know that snakes don't talk, but people do. People do. And so, the serpent, of course, is that naga. The naga is, because when you look in Strong's, it's not a snake, it's a naga. Interesting that you can find that they're lying to you right out the gate. But it is hadam. But to continue this quote, paragraph, it may have been. Oh, let me start it again. To rehear it is okay. We got to repeat it to really get it. It should be noted that the original Indo-European words were fashioned to denote material objects, and then specific events that impinge directly upon the senses or immediate emotions. Yeah, an emotional thing will really get people. It may have been centuries before these terms were then extended from the physical to mental.
Wow.
Ideas, right? From the physical to abstract mental activity, from the concrete to the abstract. And finally, perhaps, we're given a figurative uses and applications, totally abstract, totally out there, right beyond the senses. But in the beginning, it had to be directly connected with the senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. The sound of the E. We know it's a bird. We know the V, the symbol of the V in the alphabet is the V formation of the birds flying. The A is the symbol of the sun. And the sun is the big symbol. That's the logo. That's when it said in the beginning, is the word, and the word, but yet in the Greek it says logo, and okay, in the beginning. It was in the beginning. And what was in the beginning? The light that shined. And so I'm going to just finish this off, see if it goes anywhere else. Thus the language grew with the growth of its makers and users, from nomads to farmers to the citizens, from wanderers to citizens of civilizations, and from immediate concerns to general principles, from observation to speculation, across the centuries, from myth to, we should say fallacies, but to magic and to religion. Religion came first. Philosophy and science, that was religion. All of it was one. But then they split them apart because it was easier to get us lost by disassociating philosophy, disassociating science, disassociating everything from everything else, and making it independent when it's all one. And the process, of course, continues along with us. So that's out of the Origins of English Words by Joseph Shipley. And so a perfect example of that is when I was reading just last night, and it's like just like the word Titanic. I should have. I'm reading this word in the storyline all my life, and yet I never get the picture. And then finally, one day you do, and when it happens, well, it's a revelation. I'm telling you. And because as I talk about the Asia Wars, which is the original for words, the Indo-Germanic, the words are abbreviated. The Asia Wars are abbreviated, and therefore they're components of bigger words and the primitive, and it's a hands down provable. As you know through the programs, I've given enough substance, and it's the pattern is whole and complete. Other than certain words like dog, dog doesn't have a etymological history because it's a religious made term by the Vatican, and dog backwards is God, and God is the Pope. So because the original word was hound, and or canine. There's the two original words that have an etymological history for what we think when we say dog. But dogs are the priests and the Freemasons. And so when I was reading in the book of Acts last night, the story about Stephen, it was like around chapter 3 or 4. Then we got the story of Stephen, who, because there were people in the body of the called out ones were in need, the widows, the poor. There were different people in need, and so the Malak, who we call apostles, they said, well, we need to stay with prayer and fasting and meditating, and therefore appoint certain leaders, and they will be in charge of the administration of the funds of of the material wealth that we have to share, to help others out. And so in the process, then they appoint the one who was the most qualified to be the lead administrator in that operation. And so he would have been just like an apostle, who we call an apostle, a Malik, a royal Malik. Malik is royal messenger. We are all royal messengers when we get the picture. We are all Malik when we take on the title of Mashiach game, false Christian, and so Stephen, he's then being referred to as the wisest and the most honorable and trustworthy. He's given all the qualities of if we were to use a metaphor, like the way they do it, in the occultic world, we could say he's a star. He's a star because he's the best. So then we hear how he's being confronted in the temple, I think it was, by the Pharisheim and the seducers, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and their minions, their buddies, and they're confronting him in the temple because he stands out. Obviously, he does stand out like a star because he's carrying the banner of Yeshua and the light of truth. And so when they're confronting him, then he starts telling them, speaking with them, and it says that his words and his meanings and his depth of knowledge was so fantastic and so great that they were speechless in front of him, and that they couldn't resist, they couldn't defeat his arguments, and that he destroyed them with the truth, and so they were so offended, by all of this, that then they take him before the council, and they because they want to condemn him to death, and it says that and this is as I'm reading it, and I hadn't read it for a good while, a couple of years maybe, and then always there was, I'm leading up to it. So in the council, and he tells the story. It goes back into Moses, and he retells the story of the purpose, the intention of Eshav Re'ul. But of course, he's talking to a group of people who are not really Eshav Re'ul. They are not really Israel. It was vanished and dissolved 700 years earlier. But he may not have even known that. It may be that they all knew it, that these people were following the Babylonian Talmud. I don't know. I know they were now. I know they were, but we have all the evidence of it. Just that domain itself is the evidence of it. But all their customs that would defy, that Yeshua condemned them for, was evidence that they were following the Babylonian Talmud. They were Talmudists. They were not following. The Torah was the cover story. Religion was their cover, but they were occultists. And so when he's there telling them the story, and he's just given the most powerful presentation probably of his life, and also of what these people have ever heard before, the true purpose of Esha Re'ul. And then it says that at the end of his speech that his face shone, and when you read the translation, it doesn't come across very well. And whenever I read it, I always was like, okay, yeah, they're saying something happened to his face, but they're using these abstract terms that we don't get the picture. But then I saw it so clearly, and I got the picture without question. I saw it because I'm deep in this work now, and I'm about to do the most important transliteration of modern time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I saw it. His face shone like the sun. That's what it literally said. His face shone like the sun. He was there was a supernatural phenomena occurring at this moment, because he was speaking to the bad guys, and Yeshua was using him. And when he was appointed for a special purpose, well, the special purpose becomes a hallmark in this story. And yet, all the times I read it, I never saw clearly the poor transliteration of it, or translation, mesto pragico, magico presto, because it's a translation which is a cult trick, because they never give it to you properly, so you can get the picture. But his face shone like the sun. And then,
wow.
and I wrote it down. I immediately wrote it down in the pages, because after all these years, I saw it perfectly. Because as you know, it is about the light.
Yes.
It is about the sun, and the sun is the logo. It is the symbol of Yeshua. It is the symbol of wisdom. The light is everything. There is nothing in the darkness at all. At all. It is an illusion. Here today, gone tomorrow. The light will endure forever. This light of truth that is Yeshua and the Yahweh, the Father. And the pure light, the light behind the light, the invisible light, which is represented with the violet, the ultraviolet light. But so anyway, after I saw that, it was like, wow, how come I never saw it so clearly? And it's like I put the book down, and then I'm talking, I'm mulling over I'm thinking about Stephen, and then all of a sudden there it is. Stephen, wait a minute. Stephen is star fan. It's an abbreviation. That's all the other words of the star fans. Fan is symbolized with the philpot, the swastika, is the light particle spinning from the sun. That's what the swastika is. It is the fan. As you know, I said that the word nafsha, which is our nature, our primitive nature, the nafsha is our self. When I read the word backwards 5 years ago, I saw it was sharfan, the original primary root word for the sun, and shar means royal fan. Yeah. The royal fan is what? The light that is continually flowing down to earth to give us warmth and substance and life. Without it, we are dead. So the fan, being a power generator and something that blows, is the symbol of the sun. That's why the swastika is the symbol of the sun. And even the battle axe and the fasci is the symbol of the sun. And so the fan, in sharfan, so you can see the word sharpen.
Yep.
It's right there. You got to sharpen your rays of light, your swords and your knives are your rays of light that shine in sparkle. And then, if you go, in the water, in the ocean, and they saw the shark fin, they say the shark fan there. And if you went to the beach and go surfing, you're riding the surf fan. There's the serpent, the surf fan. So the fan is a primary root word in this legacy that is our creation. And so there was the word star fan. And so his name wasn't Stephen, it was star fan, the power, which means the power of a star or the power of a sun. So literally his name typified what he had done and what he was doing and who he was.
Wow.
In this story. And I never saw it until last night. And there again, it's one more evidence of the power of the original thought.
Yep.
And how the story was connecting with who he was.
Yep.
All connected.
Yep.
And it becomes a great story, not just a good story, but now a great story with a great, powerful connection in the Shavors, in the words, that we should have seen it from the right out the gate. But since they corrupted our words, we can't see it. We can't. And we didn't even see that his head was shining like a star, like the sun. We get close to it, but yet we're not there because they use words that are abstract and not specific, like I was reading in that etymological dictionary as I started part 2 here. So I want to give you another example now of the translation project, because once again, the light bulb has been going off here, and I was reading Hebrews last night, and I'm reading several Aramaic translations now, comparing them all. And so it's just like, the river of light is flowing, and I've got, I think, 4 or 5 different Aramaic versions now, because that's where it was originally, not in Greek. That's the cover. They had to destroy all the original Aramaic and say it was Greek, because they want to, that's why, when you're confused, you say it's Greek to me, right? Because you can't figure it out.
Or double Dutch. Double Dutch.
Side of the brain.
That's what we say here. Yeah.
What do you say?
We say double Dutch.
Oh, it's double Dutch, huh?
Yeah, it's all double Dutch or gobbledygook.
Oh, you see, well, that's because there's something wrong in Denmark, and those are the Jesuits. I think up there. Yeah. There you go. Figures. So if anybody wants to get their scriptures out, I'll give you a moment, okay? Because you're going to go to Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. But in the meantime, I'll give one more example of the sun Because you remember we talked about the word stone as being star one or one star stone.
Yep.
Okay, because when it said, and it went back to that the word David, because he said that in Zion there's a stone of offense, and I'm trying to, and that he was going to put sit on the throne of David, but David isn't the word; it's Tavah, and what it meant was the throne of mankind. Because David, in the middle of the word is Ava, which means the woman's creation, and therefore it means he's going to sit on the throne of the sun in the metaphor, that in Zion he lies the rock of offense, and when I heard that, I said I know there's no rock, there's no stones up there, but the creation is one. And so when I was alluding to it, I realized that it meant that the one star of creation, that he was going to sit on the one star, and so that's what the foundation stone represented. And it's a lousy translation again, as almost all of our translations are lousy. And it's the one star foundation of the foundation. The one star of our foundation is the sun. Okay, and I'm going to give a parallel scripture now in Hebrews to show that. Because what they've done, as when they in Mithraism, as we talked at the beginning of the program, and Zarathustra got the vision, he realized that what they call Ahura Mazda is the symbol of the sun, and that the one God, as we can use a pagan term, or the one great Elohim, is represented by the sun. He is not the sun in the literal sense. He rules from the throne of the sun. It is his great logo. His energy is continually flowing, right? He doesn't take a break. He never takes a day off, right? Every day is one. It never stops flowing. In 1 hour of time on Earth, there's enough sunshine to power everything on the planet for a year. The scientists all say that.
Yeah.
That there's so much energy flowing that it's mind-boggling. It's beyond our mental capacity to appreciate how great this power is that has made our universe, and that Yeshua is in this creation.
Yeah.
He is all things, but he is represented by the sun. So if we wanted to point to him and say, look, that's our guy right there. That's what he looks like in a symbol. The sun is the great logo. We are in his image, so we look like him too, but in another way. And so we have to see how they saw, and that is, as I read, let me go back to that one more time and just read it again, because we need that picture, just that first line. Where is it here? Jesus, when you need a page. Okay. It should be noted that the original Indo-European, Indo-Germanic, Aramaic mother tongue, these words, these eshavors, were fashioned to denote material objects. That's how it was in the beginning. When Hadam, the Naga, the one who knew how everything operated in our universe, talked to Naive, but she was naive. She was Eve, and Eve also implies the darkness. So she was in the dark. She was in the dark because she was relying on her Naga counterpart to give her truth and fill her in. But he decided to lie to her and said, "Baby, you do this thing with me, and we won't die. Okay, it's going to be beautiful." And in fact, if we do this thing, that we will be like Elohim. Why? Because they'd be like creators. They're going to be having babies, and we will be like Elohim, and we will know the difference between. You didn't say good and evil. That's the abstract. He used the concrete structure of the image, and he said we would know the difference between the sun and the moon, meaning light and darkness.
Yeah.
What became abstract as good or evil. You get the picture?
I get the picture.
You see?
Yeah.
You see how the image is carrying the story.
Yep.
And so And
get the picture. We're getting the picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
The image.
The picture tells the story. We can then interpret the story through the pictures if we go back to the original. And so what does it say in Hebrews, verse 3? It says, and I'm reading out of Lamsa. You may be reading King James, NIV, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to give you the original thread, because I've been reading it all my life, and I never saw it more clearly, because I'm but just now at the threshold of doing this translation project, I'm reading multiple versions every day, and not one of them are correct. Okay, not one of them. They're good. There's better than others, but they're all corrupted. They all have been corrupted, and I tell that story and how they got rid of all the originals.
Yeah.
Even the Aramaic, they replaced the alphabet with the Estrangalo-Demotic, and it came from the West and not from the East, and we're embracing Eastern culture, but it was the Roman Empire that gave them the new version of those funny little squiggly lines that look like Arabic, or Sanskrit. And so anyway, in chapter 1 of Hebrews, verse 3, my Lamsa says, "For he is the brightness of his glory," code word, "for he is the brightness of his glory, and the expressed image of his being, upholding all things by the power of his word. And when he had, through his character, cleansed our sins, then he sat down on the right hand of the Majesty on high." Okay, but the first part is what I'm dealing with. Again, it says, "For he is the brightness of his glory, and the expressed image of his being." Stop right there.
Yeah.
That is abstract. What did it really say there? He's the brightness of his glory. What is glory? And the expressed image of his being. What image? What image? What's going on here? Something's missing. I hear the word brightness. That's like a tip-off. Brightness, right? We know something.
Yeah. I have radiance. Yeah, I have radiance, but same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here's how it would really read. Here's how it read in the original, but in modern English, because we can't read the Aramaic, so we have to read the imagery, but in modern. That's all we can do now. We can't go back and learn Aramaic, so we have to bring the imagery forward. And here's what it was really saying in regard to Yeshua, who himself is the brightness of the sunshine, which is the image and the reflection of his being.
Reflection. The reflection. That's what sticks in my mind. Like that's...
Yeah, well, here's the key word is sunshine. What is the glory? The glory is the glowing rays. You hear it? It's code.
Yeah.
Glowing rays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Himself is the brightness. He himself is that brightness. He is literally that brightness. In other words, he is the force behind the sun. He who himself is the brightness of the sunshine, which is also the image and the reflection of his own being.
Wow.
Can we get a picture of how great he really is in the power structure of creation? What is there he cannot do? What is there he does not know? When everything came out from the sun, all creation came out from the light. He says he knows how many hairs are on her head. A bird never falls down without him knowing about it. You know, when you go on the internet and you turn on your computer, how long do you have to wait to get a website from halfway around the world? Half a second?
A little bit more for me because I have a slow internet.
Yeah, you got low output, or download, but we're talking about the way.
Yeah.
When you go on your computer, you have an immediate connection with every other computer and server around the world. It's instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's instantaneous. So we're all connected now. You know, I don't have to wait 3 seconds to hear your voice come back to me, do I?
No, you don't.
We're talking in present. We're talking in present tense, immediate.
Yep.
And so, if we can look at the computer, you know, like a star, and every computer is its own little star, and it's immediately connected to all the other stars. It's one giant star, one web, right, of a structure.
Right.
And so like the spider, when he's at the middle of the web, he immediately knows when a fly has landed, and wherever that vibration comes from, he immediately knows where it's at, right?
Yeah.
He knows which way to go. He knows exactly where. So can you get a relative view of what I'm talking about in the structure then of
Yes.
Yeshua and his creation?
Yes.
And how the star, he is the star, okay? I mean, I actually said at the beginning he's not the star, but I misspoke. He is everything. He is the first atom, and therefore the star, the sun, is nothing other than a collection of atoms that is beyond our wildest imagination to count the number. How do you count the number of atoms? You know, as one documentary well put it, they said that you know, if you took a glass of water, an 8-ounce glass of water, there are more atoms in one 8-ounce glass of water than there are glasses of water in all the oceans of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
It's
heard
an
that
amazing
before.
thing.
Yeah.
So even though we look at how powerful the sun is, forget about how powerful the sun is. The most powerful creation in all of creation is the atom, because it all starts with the atom. And we can't even see it with the naked eye. Yet we're breathing it every moment, and if we don't breathe this atomic base element found in the oxygen, then we die within minutes. So the atom is the most powerful, and the sun is a collection of atoms that then was ignited into a star because of its powerful nature. And so Yeshua, by spirit, is beyond the atom and beyond the sun, but at the same time, he is the atom. He's the first atom, and that's why our Aryan parent is called the Adam, because it is an archetype duplicate of the atom, and called Adam. Why with the D? Because he had death abiding in him, because he was a duplicate, not the original, because only the original is the one that has all life within him, and that's why we need him. We need the original and not a duplication, because the duplication was made by Elohim and not by Yahweh, because Yahweh made the first, and then the duplicate made all the others, and so they needed something that was from the beginning, and that was the breath of life, what's called classically the Holy Spirit. So anyway, I'm trying to give an example of the power of seeing the translation clearly. He who himself is the brightness of the sun, which is the image and the reflection of his own being. Okay, it is a logo, it is a symbol. And then, you know, going down into verse 8, I have another one I wrote down last night, and I just want to refer to it.
Okay.
See what it says. I can't remember. But verse 8, but the sun, he said, thy throne, true, and here it says, oh God, but, you know, of course, that's all pagan.
Yeah.
True, perfect, and complete, great Elohim. Your throne, perfect and complete Elohim, is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is a scepter of righteousness. So here's what it is about that scepter. Okay, it should be like this, which I read again. The scepter of your kingdom is a righteous scepter in Lamsa, but it would be the scepter of flowing light is the scepter of your kingdom. What is the scepter? The scepter is the sun. What does a king have on the top of his staff? A round ball that represents the sun.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of power, you know? And so the king was merely a messenger of the sun. That's what Malik means. Malik is the original word for king, and he is the messenger of the sun. Okay? So we've got to get the picture. We've got to get back. Zarathustra saw it. He said, forget all these gods, these false images, devils and demons and serpents, you know, all these misconceptions of what, you know, people are afraid of and go bump in the night. Yeshua says in the prophets, there is none besides me, there is no other. There is nothing there. It is empty. It's an illusion. There is one light, and everything else is either a creation of Yeshua or it's a creation of man. And all the creations of men are false images, deceptions, and deceit. The only devil we need to be concerned about is man. He's the enemy. He's the adversary. Man. It was who was it? Elahu and Salome were speaking to Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan when they were in mates are, falsely called Egypt during their flight from Herod, who wanted to kill all the babies. And there was a guy who said, if you ask me what to study, then I would tell you to study yourself. And after you had studied yourself, and then you ask me again, what is it now that I should study? I would tell you, study yourself. You see? Because he was pointing out that man is the enemy.
Yeah.
We are our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
We're our enemy to ourselves, and man is the enemy to all of mankind. We're even enemy to animals. Why do you think animals run when they see us coming, right? They fly away. They run. Because they know that hiding within us is danger, darkness. We're the animal to be feared, right? So anyway, I go in a lot of different directions here, but I'm trying to point out, these connections of the symbol, the great symbol. It said, where there's no vision, people perish. If you can't get the picture, if you can't figure out that we've been lied to, why, even on the back of the dollar bill, that upper pyramid, it has an eye in it, and that upper pyramid is reflecting the light like the sun. They're telling you that the sun is the eye. They serve the moon. They put the sun up there like it's their baby, and they hate the light. They know that the sun represents Yahweh, and that it is the Yeshua incarnate in all creation. He is just like, we talked about the image of the computer tied in everywhere at all places at all times. And so is Yeshua plugged in everything at all times, because he is everything. That's why when he says, you didn't visit the prisoner, you didn't visit me. When you didn't visit the sick, you didn't visit me. When you didn't feed the poor, you didn't feed me. Why? Because we are him. We're made in his image. And that's from the atomic level. Can you see it?
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, we are him. But the only thing different about man is he has not the spirit within him, because he is a fallen creature, and therefore the spirit left him when he came down to the lower garden from the atom.
Yeah.
Before he did the act, he was already in the fall. The act merely represents the fall, the action of what they did, but they were already in the lower world. That's why it said they were naked, because the nakedness symbolized that they needed to be clothed with something that they had lost when they fell from the light, and what they needed to be clothed with was the light, which is symbolic of the spirit, you see. And so this is pure interpretation of this original story, like nobody is saying it anywhere. I've not heard anybody say it like this anywhere, and it's crucial to see these things, to appreciate the royalty that remains within us. And it doesn't matter whether we're, red, white, black, blue, or brown. It doesn't matter. The Aryan came down to speak the truth to mankind. He was here with the message. He was the first made on the planet, as it says Adam was made. But then he was taken up to the throne of the atom, falsely called Eden. That's the corruption of the word, the atom. And while Yeshua made all things on earth with the power of light, creation, then he said that he wanted to see what Adam would call them. And so Adam was in on the deal of the entire creation of the planet. And that's why he knew how everything operated within our cosmos, because he was with Yeshua. And so he becomes an archetype of Yeshua, but fallen. Whereas Yeshua, when he came down, walked perfectly, never closed his eyes, conquered the flesh, therefore conquered the grave, and gave us back life that we lost to our parent Adam. It was all a drama that was organized from the beginning to save all mankind, because before you can have the higher creation, you had to have the lower creation. It's a given within this great mystery of life. Okay? And so I think that's where we can cap it off. Today I had a lot more cards here, but I think I've done enough damage to the occult for one day. What do you think?
Wow, that's what I think. When you were talking about all the connections with the sun, That was, yeah, that was amazing. Like, it reminded me of that little bit that I read the other day when I told, I don't know if I said this live or not, but when I told you when I told you as I was reading it, I couldn't see the words because I was crying because it was so amazing. And like, I could see the big picture, but I could also see that it was beyond comprehension at the same time. And yeah, that's like what you were saying just now. It's amazing, and it makes sense. It makes complete sense. And this is the only place that you will hear it. This is the only place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confucius said, "Signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law."
Yeah.
But yet, words are the the middle ground between the symbol and recognizing what the symbol means, and the mind control. So they control the words, and that's how they control us. So people have to recognize that their scriptures that they have received are not the originals, and not only are they not the originals, but they're redrafts of redrafts, and because they had to continue to redraft words, and because they knew that the key, that once they knew that they could no longer keep us from finding scriptures because people were bringing them out, like Tyndale, Wycliffe, Erasmus, all of these different ones, where Luther, all were bringing to the world the scriptures that they found when they were priests. They came out of the priesthood, out of Catholicism. Because the priests were pretending, to be benevolent. Therefore, the priesthood had the scriptures, but then some of the priests simply woke up. That's what the beef didn't count on, was that their own babies, their own children, were going to turn on them. And so once they could no longer keep the scriptures from the hands of man, the only thing they had left that they could do was to control the words. And so then they created a university outside the Vatican called the College of Abbreviators, run by the Jesuit Curii, and they put the cure in your eye from the Masonic mortarboard. They put mud in your eye so that you can't see. So when you graduated from school, you'd be happy to put that Masonic mortarboard on your head, stupid. And a Masonic mortarboard of all things, nobody gets the picture because symbols rule the world. They got it on the top of your head. You don't even know what the symbol represents, and it means they got mud in your eye, so you're blind. And that's why Yeshua healed one of the blind men, put mud in his eye to show us that we got mud in our eye and we can't see, and that we are of the earth. And so the first thing that we have to do is we have to rightly add up and divide the words. Read means to re-add the riddle, re-add, and so once we can then look at the words, realize they're corrupted, that it's code, we then have to put the correct words back. That's the only way we can go back home. That's the road. The words are the road signs. The words are the conveyance, the instrument that we use to go back in esoteric, abstract, and also solid figures. Solid figures, the symbol that nobody gets it. Every day they go outside and never get the picture that the sun is their mother. The mother star is the real mother. We're told to honor our mother and father, and yet many of us don't have parents that are honorable, and we couldn't live up to that scripture because we can't honor those who are corrupt. But yet the truth is we can all honor our primordial, original, first in line, first in time, mother, father, represented as the sun, the mother star, which represents Yahweh, the great logo, and Yeshua, the son, who is all things, mother, father, son, savior, redeemer, spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever word you want to use, because he is all things. It's a great mystery, but we have to see things like not what we've been told, but the way we haven't been told, and to question all things rightly. It says we are to rightly divide. And divide, if you're going to cut them up, then let's put them back together correctly. If you have to divide it, rightly divide the word of truth. So we're being told in the scripture, and so that's why they continually to engineer these these words. That's why they continue. They go from a King James version to an NIV. NIV is about the sickest of them all because they took out more scriptures. Oh, this one didn't go. They kept taking the knife to it. Taking the the grinding mill and kept shaving more off because they figured that people don't like to read anyway. We control them through education, and therefore, but that's why, like with the word evangelon, that was one of my tip-offs. I knew the word evangelion. There's the word lion right there for the sun. There's Eve, the prime root of Eve is AV for another star. You got the word of a star at the beginning of the evangelon. You got the word at the end of the evangelon. It literally means, evangelion means literally a message in the stars. So they couldn't have that one at the front of the Gospels anymore, and they took it out and put the word gospel there. In the King James, it was spelled with two L's, Gospel. And gospel is two words and means go spell, slave. And they can't even see the big word at the top of the page, what it's telling them to do, let alone the rest of the book that has them totally confused and out in left field, never able to get back home, always thinking that they can never live up to the standard of Yeshua when he told us that better works, greater works we will do than even he did. They got the priesthood, and the Masons telling them, you're never going to live pure. You can never be free from sin. Well, wait a minute. My scripture says that that those who the Father, that Yeshua sets free are free indeed, and so whosoever he would set free from sin would be free indeed. So there's conflict between what the words are really saying in the literal sense that we can read them right now, even in the corrupted versions, compared to what they tell us at the pulpit. You can never live up to a standard. You're always going to be worthless and no good. All these negatives, and then when they control the words, we get close. We're always close, but we're not there. And that's not good enough. You've got to be there, and to be there is to be separate from the darkness, to be a light, to put on the flaming sword of a star, to become clothed with the light, to go back home to the light, and the light is the sun, and yet nobody gets the picture, and just so rather tragic time. And now the sun's on fire. Now they destroyed the ozone layer, so we're being burned up by the fire of the sun. All the plants, all the trees, all the bushes right outside my apartment, bushes are half dead, brown, evergreens that were beautiful, lush and beautiful, half dead. So the fire of the sun is burning down now, and when these Masons thought they could just commit mass genocide and kill all the rest of the Christians, then they'll kill the Muslims last. They'll be on the last rail car because they don't have any regard for the Muslims either. They're just a political tool and instrument they're using until they're done with them. But the irony is they destroy the ozone layer. They can't get it back for 20 million years, and so therefore they'll never be able to live on the surface of the planet again. They may live underground for a while, but they're going to have to do in vitro or whatever they call that stuff. Take the egg out of the woman and put it in a test tube with the sperm, because you have to be on top of the ground to have normal creation. The menstrual or whatever the cycles of the egg are within the woman don't work when she's underground. You have to be on top of the ground to have a normal reproductive cycle for creation, and it's not going to happen anymore. So I guess they're really going to be demons living underground, or devils, or whatever they want to call them. Whatever they made up in their minds. It's a world that they've destroyed. They hate our guts, and they have no soul or no mind, in the true sense of the word. No conscience, I'm overwhelmed to have woke up in a science fiction movie when we, thought everything was about Bambi, and, beautiful, I like to teach the world to sing perfect harmony. Remember all that stuff?
Yes.
Mom, Apple Pie, Chevrolet.
Looked at the world with wonder.
Yeah. And then we find out that actually that we got people drinking the blood of babies and murdering women and children and raping them and calling themselves father and brother and all these other terms, and yet they are Luciferians serving the occult darkness, hate our guts for some reason. I never did nothing to them, but they gave me a false reality, a reality that in the end leaves us dead. We're dead right out the gate when they give us the birth certificate. You want to cut me off now? I don't think I can stop. I'm just on a roll. And
I know you are. I'll just let you know who's here. We have a few now. Lynn and Ya are here, and Ya Love. Sorry, Ya Love. and Martha, and Duck has joined. And
Great.
yeah,
Good to hear from you all.
yeah.
Right. And we don't have changing reality there, do we? Changing reality is changing reality there.
No, I think it's okay. I think it's pretty stable.
Well, we're going to change reality by. Well, we can't change. Well, I'm being a little facetious, but we can't. We can't. We can change. We can't change our reality, but we can change our paradigm because we can go back home, and that's the good news. That what they're going to do, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. Even though some people actually still think they are.
And Liz, sorry, Liz is saying still here. Just had to butt in there because I didn't say Liz's name.
So all we can do is we can wake up to the truth, and we can sharpen our pencil, and we can see and read it correctly. If we can see and read things correctly, then we're set free because they got us under control. We're under the control in the mind. And so we have to be set free in the mind.
Yeah.
They can round us up any day, take us in a prison, cut our head off. But the point is, the mind is our sacred ground, and we should let nobody control our thinking and our ability to process and reason.
Exactly.
Of the reality that really is what the whole purpose of this creation is really all about. They are being used. They are the scapegoat. They will never transcend. They're dirt. And they're going back to the dirt that they belong to, and but they were being used for some reason. The fallen Aryan Watchers were used with this great knowledge that they had to create this false illusion of modern civilization. Otherwise, man would still be primitive, living in caves and teepees. But the ancient Watchers, with the sophistication of knowledge that they had, were able to give us the great industrial ages and skyscrapers and iPhones and all and airplanes that fly, 747s, a football field flying up in the air, amazing satellite technology. This was the legacy of the Aryan race what they gave us, what knowledge they had within them, the ability to create polygonal structures 10,000 years ago to now. The modern structures, they could cut those stones the same way again if they wanted to, but they're running the show, and therefore they don't want us to know how they did things in the past. So our technology still doesn't live up to what they used to be able to do with simpler processes even, So it's all a great mystery, but we're figuring it out. We're doing it right here and with NinjaCat 111, and I love to talk to anybody on the side. If you're trying to figure something out, always willing to take a phone call, leave a message. I don't answer strange numbers until I get a message because most of the calls they hang up either too afraid to talk to me or it's the boogeyman, just letting me know he's still listening in. Okay, because they're on me. Certainly they are. They hit my guts over here in Millersburg, Ohio, the Freemasons, because the first week I came into town 4.5 years ago, they started following me. They let me know it. They wanted me to know it, and because they're cultists, they're criminals. They pretend to be brotherly and lovingly, and protectors and defenders, and they're here raping men, women, and children, and our minds and our society. They're the controllers, and they don't want nobody else to be in on the game, And so they're constantly working overtime to fix the broken leaks in the ship, because it's a big ship and it's got all these leaks all over the place, and people are waking up to it,
Yep. Yeah.
So, okay, is everything okay now, Ninja?
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Does it?
Yeah, it's just our world is over, right?
That's the only thing. But apart from that, everything's fine. Yep.
Yeah. But other than that, we can transcend and live forever, and we got to do it. So who wouldn't want the light? Who couldn't love the light of truth? And knowing who we really are and why we are here. It's to wake up to who we are and to wake up to who they are. And then the scripture says to be a separate people, to separate ourselves from that insanity and from that grand illusion. The greatest puppet show on earth is Washington, D.C. It's a cartoon charade. Why give it your energy? It's there to distract us and to deflect us to the real world federation that's pulling all the strings and spraying our skies, and ultimately they've already destroyed it. So now it's just merely a matter of time. The clock is ticking, tick, 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 over. Okay? It's over. The only thing we have left is to identify our spiritual nature, because they have already destroyed the world. The animals are dying, the sea life. We've all heard Dane Wigington over, the weekend programs he does. Okay? The plant, the sea life is 90% dead. Coral reefs, okay? It's all over. So get with the program. You can wake up a friend, find a way to reach them. You have to save yourself first before you can save somebody else, ladies and gentlemen. But you can save people, take them down the road you're going, show them the things you're seeing, and because you wanted to know, and therefore other people want to know as well. There are good people that are worthy of this knowledge. They've been deceived and lied to. They didn't ask for it. So do the thing that Yeshua said to do, and spread the good news about the fact that even though our world's destroyed, we still have a paradise waiting for us, and it's up above in the great Eden, the atom that is of light, pure light, and it's just merely a door. It's a portal to something far greater, something beyond anything we can even begin to talk about right here and now, because it's outside of this universe. And so hope to see you there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And in the meantime, Ninja, thank you for being dedicated to truth, and may you live forever, and as well as our wonderful friends that always tune in and listen and make their contributions. We need each other in this grand scheme to pull it all together, and not one of us can ever see it all, and many of us will see different parts of the onion. You look at an orange, you only see one side of it at one time. You can't see the entire side of an orange at the same time. So that's part of the mystery, and but it's all an open secret, and the only ones that are being fooled are people that are looking at their iPhone. They're just not looking up, and they need to start doing that. I'm sick of it. I've been down this road as a political activist. Started 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and I've seen all the good people get shot on the side of the road and thrown into prison, and everything else happen to them. It's all happened to me, and I'm a walking miracle today, because the Father is great, and He's using me to share these Aishavors, these words, with this true, pure translation. So it won't be here for long, but for those who can get on the board with it, it's here for a very small group of people, because I don't foresee us having much time left, and yet I've got a big translation project. We haven't even begun to print, let alone do the final draft of the transliteration. I'm getting samples of it. I'm defining the words as they really are, and it's absolute hands-down fact in nature, and I have a dictionary that supports it. So if you want that information at the middle of this broadcast, Ninja already gave it out, so just do the replay, and you'll have the contact information and how you can see and read things for yourself, and also support the most important transliteration project in modern time, and defying the Luciferian beast system. They hate my guts, but that's okay. They hate your guts too, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming for me, and they're coming for you. So we're all in on this together, and there's not one of us. We're here to support each other in this arena. I'm just bringing the message, and but if the message can be louder and stronger with the people that would get behind it, I've had multiple attempts on my life, near close to 10, close to a dozen, and 4 times with automobiles. First time ended up in a ditch, and these cultists are everywhere. Every community you go in, they're there. So it don't matter. I was in another community, another one, this one. They're there. They're really coming out of the box now. Because it's so bad, and because they know they're at their end game now. They're literally, they're happy to, come out of the box.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah. There's nothing to fear from these people, because they have no power. It's an illusion. Yeshua has all power. So what's powerful is to be with Him, united with Him, because your time will not come until it's the time for you to go. And He wants to use you so you can be strong and stand strong in the face of these wicked, and know who you are, where you are, why you are, and when you are, and who's really running the show. Because these people are an illusion to themselves. They're deluded in their own blood that they're drinking, in their own lust that they pursue, and their own phony power trip with a jackboot and a gun on their hip and a club, and that's your Batman. That's the very word. The baton, which comes the first word Batman was the one who unloaded the caravan. Going back all the way to Hinduism in India and Tibet and all that stuff. So I thought we weren't going to go over today, Ninja. What happened?
We can keep going as long as you want, Desert.
No. I just, I get inspired, and I know today is I regard Sunday, as the day of the sun, and I guess so when we're talking about the sun, and everybody gives more attention to it for a day being spiritual. I was inspired, to try to make the most of it and get out, these basic components that I wanted to share about the Titans and the Titanic, and and the words, the discovery of the word Stephen. I'm having an experience every day now. Is a major discovery for me of an original thought and a bigger picture for this translation project in our scriptures. When you read the scriptures that Yahweh willing, I will produce for everybody, you'll be reading the scriptures closer to they were 2,000 years ago than anything on the planet, and so it's pretty exciting to me. I'm really charged, with this right now. I can't wait to start processing. I don't have my computer set up, yet. Hopefully next week we'll have the computer again, and we'll be ramped up to start it. Then I'll be reading it on the program every day. As I do the transliteration project, I'll be going to start with Genesis, the book of Hebrews, and possibly the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. I've got two versions of the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, and I'll splice it with the Aramaic and bring back the most complete and original form of Matthew, which was officially the last book of the Old Covenant. So we got a lot that we're about to do, and it will be like you've never heard the scriptures before, because you really haven't, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard a type, but it's more like a Dick and Jane reader, or kindergarten story versus the real metaphysical, esoteric mystery, that unfolds in vivid rays of colors and lights, that are transcending. It captures you. It helps you to realize you're not earthbound. You're not an animal. You are a celestial being of the cosmic order. And everything we have is a reverse of the way it really was. And so coming your way, ladies and gentlemen. And so we'll be on Tuesday at 9 a.m. with NinjaCat 111, right, Ninja?
Right. Yeah. What do we work out? Your Tuesday, your Thursday, and do you still want to do your Saturday?
Saturday, and if we miss it, for any reason, we'll do Sunday. We may do Sunday anyway. We may do a double on the weekend, but because more people are around. Okay, but that's how we'll do it right now. Tuesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's in the USA. And what time is that down under, Ninja? And you can cap it off.
That's 1 a.m. Aussie time. We'll say between 1 and 1:30, but I'm aiming for 1 a.m. I don't think I've been on time yet, Desert. I apologise. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Also, I haven't mentioned Funky Blue. I met Funky Blue in Mew Mew's stream this morning. And who else did I miss? Melissa. And I think I got everybody. And where was it? Martha says, Desert, thank you so needed to hear this and be here today. Thankful, grateful. So,
who is that coming from?
From Martha.
Who?
From Martha Duncan.
Oh, Martha. Well,
yeah.
Certainly you're welcome, Martha. Good to have you. And also, and Martha, as well as Lynn, can certainly use prayers. They, we're all, because all these ladies, these brave ladies, are doing their own YouTubes and stuff, and people they're putting their lives out there, and very often stuff happens. Of course, with Lynn, her has family going through stuff right now that's very difficult. So Lynn, I need your prayers as well. And we all need to congregate together and have a hub, to do this type of stuff. So it's exciting. I'm just grateful to have friends who can actually listen and hear. It took me 40 years to really be able to express it like this. 5 years ago, I could not convey this message because many of the missing pieces came over the last 5-year window. And because the closer, I got down the road, of course, the more it opens up, the more you can see, the more clear it gets. And then these last pieces are just, every day now is a major discovery. So it's just in time. I guess it's just in time.
Yeah.
It looks like we have no time left.
Yeah.
So we need to knock this out as much as possible and for as much time as we have. We'll do it live on the broadcast. It'll be the first time a translation of our sacred scriptures was done live on broadcast while we're doing it on the word processor, and we'll try to publish hard copy of anything, but we'll make it available through PDF. And you're, I think, going to help try to get us up on a Kindle or something like that. So we'll have different ways of trying to get the hard copy out there. But, we have to see and read it for ourselves. We've been lied to about everything, so we've got to see it in a light that we've never seen it before, and it will be so bright. You'll have to put the sunglasses on, ladies and gentlemen. So, Ninja, thank you again for being there and for your help, and live for effort, and we'll look for you on Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, on the Forbidden History Chronicles, right? That's what they didn't want you to know, that we tell right here, right?
Yeah, and it's Tuesday. It's the next one's Tuesday, Desert. You got a bit carried away. You said Thursday.
Tuesday.
And I just want to say thank you. That was amazing. I could just sit and listen to this for hours, which is what I just did. It's amazing. I was just thinking when you were talking about doing the translation, when you get your streams back up and running and hearing it all like the right way, I was just thinking I still don't know all of the stories. I'm still unfamiliar with the scripture, so I will be hearing it first in the most original way possible. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's the best way to hear it.
Yeah.
Rather than being filled with prejudice and misconceptions, because that's a hard thing to break.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Oh. Okay. Yeah, just had to get that out. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jump off, and we'll be safe, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Okay. Peace and love, Desert. Okay, so that was Dezert-Owl. Thanks, guys, for joining. Love you very much. Be safe. Creating light for you all. And we will be back here Tuesday, 9 a.m. Desert time. Actually, Wednesday morning, 1 a.m. Aussie time. I think I've got that right. Just go by Desert's time, 9 a.m. Tuesday. Anyway, that's it for the Forbidden History Chronicles. And see you in a couple of days. Love you guys. Be safe. Creating light for you all. And I'm just looking for the music to I'm so not techie. Okay, see you guys later.